Hello everyone, my name is Julia. I am a certified Montessori teacher, as well as a mom of a 15-month-old named Isaac and a stepmom to an 8-year-old named Asher. Today's video will be all about how you can support your child's reading at home using some Montessori tools and some tips in general. I make videos all about how to implement Montessori philosophy at home in easy, practical, and budget-friendly ways, as well as show you how we Montessori on a daily basis with some days in the life. If this type of content is up your alley, I would love for you to subscribe as well as hit that notification bell so that you can be alerted anytime I post a new video. This video will cover strategies for kids all the way up to middle school age, and I will put timestamps in the description below in case there's a particular age group that you are more interested in. But stay tuned until the end so that you can see some real life examples of some games and strategies that you can do for reading at home. Our first category is babies. Supporting your child's reading can start as soon as they are born. Simply reading to your child as a part of some sort of routine of the day will not only support their speech and vocabulary development, but will also show them that the symbols that they see on a page in a book make specific and orderly sounds. It has been shown in scientific studies that babies understand the musicality of speech over other indistinct noises. And so reading, even just one page or one tiny book, or looking at a picture book and talking about what you see, just doing that once a day even, offers opportunities for the baby to learn the cadence and attributes of certain sounds and how they apply to certain images, objects, or ideas. Other ways that you can support reading from babyhood is pointing out street signs when you see them, verbally describing what you see to your baby as you're going on a walk, providing family pictures with the names or titles of family members underneath them, and also ensuring that you're slowing down your speech and you're very clearly enunciating the words that you use. The next stage is toddlerhood, and as your baby enters toddlerhood, reading or looking at books will become their main source of supporting reading at home. And try to be as consistent as you can, especially if you had started a routine when your child was born or was a baby. Try and continue that or build upon that if you can. Even if it's just, 1 to 2 minutes before you go to bed, or something quiet when they first wake up in the morning. Another way that you can support reading at home in the toddler stage is by singing songs or looking at books that have songs and singing them. Oh, when they're up, they're up. And when they're down. And if there are books or songs that have actions attributed to them, such as many of the classic nursery rhymes or sort of sing-along songs, now's the time to start teaching them to your child. Full body absorption of a concept is a main part of a Montessori style education. And so the more of that you can include at home, the more deeply grounded the concepts will become in your child. And finally, this is also the stage where you can introduce 3D object matching to 2D pictures with or without words attached to them. So if you have already started some object to picture matching activities, then you can add in the nomenclature for it. So the nomenclature in Montessori is just simply the word, and it's usually a separate piece, but you can simply type it underneath the picture so that there's less pieces for your toddler. This I would recommend if you have a child who A, is showing interest in it, and B, is not putting too many things in their mouth, because they might just want to put the pieces of paper or laminate or whatever cardstock you've used in their mouth instead. But this is definitely a time where you can start introducing nomenclature cards and sort of language baskets. Our next stage is preschool, and by the time your child reaches preschool age, their language development is in full swing. They may even surprise you at this stage by starting to pick up reading on their own. At this age, teaching your child the alphabet is key. And in Montessori style, the alphabet is taught phonetically, meaning that the names of the letters are actually secondary to the sound of the letters. And the letters are also taught using a hand movement to increase muscle memory and further retention of the sound and the shape of the entire letter. Be sure to check out my video on where I detail how to present letters to your child for the first time in a Montessori style presentation. I will include the link below for you. So now your child is practicing the musicality, the specific sounds, feel, and direction of the letters. They may start to pick out letters that they recognize in books. And so, of course, at this stage, still reading books to your child or having books available to them so that they can go and select them is paramount. And your job at this stage is to be sensitive to these little moments of when your child is starting to recognize a letter within a word or a word in itself, because sight words are very important. Your child may recognize the way a word looks from having seen it multiple times before. And also observe them so that you can catch moments when their curiosity emerges for reading. Encourage them by asking them to repeat sounds that they see. Encourage them by making books exciting, by rotating through a stock so that it seems like there's new books on the go, by catching what styles or what characters they may be really interested in.
Very into, Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Dog Man.
You may have a child that loves animals and so is, for example, very drawn to books that have animals as the main characters in them. Provide books with engaging pictures and even movements such as flaps or pop-ups. And if you really want to, you can even make your own early books with simple pictures and simple words on a page. And you can achieve this quite simply using stickers or recipe cards on a little keychain. And if you live in a multilingual or bilingual house like I do, there are lots of really great books that have 2 languages in the same book. So one day you can read the story in one language and the next day you can read the same story in an entirely different language. In a Montessori preschool, much of reading and learning how a word sounds is how it looks and how it flows. So children do a lot of object matching, movable alphabet activities, small object sorts, nomenclature cards, and letter tracing.
This is an example taken from my Montessori training where it is small object matching, and then you can see my trainer is taking one word and my colleague is needing to rebuild that word without looking at it again using a movable alphabet. And so she had shown him the word and asked him if he memorized what he looked like, and they sounded out each of the letters N, S, T, and he is rebuilding it.
So by the time your child reaches kindergarten, they may already have started reading, or they may be memorizing the phonetic sounds of the alphabet letters. And as long as at home you're supporting the enthusiasm for books and the excitement for reading, then that's the success that is really helpful for the reading practice later on and the reading practice in school. It is also at this point that I found that parents tend to be the most anxious if their child reaches kindergarten or grade 1 and is not yet reading.
Well, Billy, if you spelled this correctly, you passed 2nd grade.
And so if you fall in this category, or if your child is still not enthusiastic about reading, doesn't seek out books for pleasure, hopefully some of the school age tips that I will share will help you. So for the 6 to 9 age group, as I just mentioned, earlier, learning the phonetic sounds of the alphabet is so important in how they apply to words, especially with the vowels. So distinguishing between the vowels and the consonants can be some of the work that you can do at home, just practicing the sounds of different letters and simple words even. So if your child still needs to master the phonetic sounds of the alphabet, just practice that at home. And also be sure to ask your teacher if they have any resources that can be helpful to you at home. And at home, still too, sparking your child's interest in the excitement of books and getting them enthusiastic about picking up a book is another way to support the reading. I mean, the English language is notoriously complex and nonsensical. So getting your child excited about the topic of what they're reading rather than frustrated at the ergonomics of trying to piece together these words is going to be such a help. This way they will feel like reading is less work and more of an enjoyable pastime. And we would all love for a child to get to a point where they become lost in a story. Thinking more about the plot line of a story rather than how many words are on each page or how many pages they have left. As a supplement to pleasure books, if you are wanting to support your child just practicing certain sounds, there are some spelling and reading programs that do a superb job of placing the English language into various set rules and sound families. So some that I really like using include the Bob Books set, various flashcards. This one is in French and this one's in English, to move around and use as an alternative to a movable alphabet. Simple readers with educational topics. And even some classic books like Cat in the Hat are really great ways to work on specific sight words and sounds as well. Reading at home doesn't need to take up a huge chunk of your evening, but it is important to set aside a portion of some part of your routine at home that it becomes an expected time to read. As long as what you are doing at home with your child or with your children is as consistent as possible, you will see success. So if you aren't able to read every single day of the week because of, say, extracurriculars that go late at night or some sort of event or sports tournament or whatnot, then make sure you're finding a day when there isn't any of that, that is a known day for being a reading day. For example, what we do at home with Asher during the school year is we read 3 to 4 times a week because 2 of his school days he would have an extracurricular that went kind of late, and so it just wasn't feasible for us to sit down and have the time. And we would do some sort of reading or phonetic exercise, and then we would read to him a pleasure book. So he would have to do some reading first, and then he would be read to. And he's been loving the Diary of a Wimpy Kid series. And before that, it was Captain Underpants. So we spent about a year reading Captain Underpants. Or I would read Captain Underpants to him, and then we moved on to Diary of a Wimpy Kid. We also included French-only reading once or twice a week, and he also has been reading with his grandma, who is a French professor, so she knows all about that. So he's been reading with her in French, which has been great, and I'm excited to pick that up again once school starts. So we, again, separate the languages on different days so that he's not doing English and French combined. But again, practicing reading doesn't just have to be in the form of a book. There are lots of games, there's lots of flashcards, activities, matching things and puzzles that you can use to practice. Another really great way to get your child reading, or at least following along to the musicality of words, and I should have mentioned this for the preschool age too, because I think this would be really applicable for that age as well, is getting an audio version or a CD of a book and having your child following along. And if there are no audio versions of a book, you can simply record yourself reading it and then have it playing for your child. They can wear headphones and reading the book at the same time. And I found that this was super successful in the car. So I would rent out a CD and book from the library and just pop the CD in, and Asher would read and follow along with the story that he wanted. Whatever developmental path your child is on with reading and language development, consistency is key. Again, communicating with your child's teacher so that the support can also come from the school, or various strategies can come from the school, will be helpful. And find books and topics that interest your child. If your child is going through an insect phase, provide for them books with insects on them. If your child is loving mechanics and machinery, provide books that talk about that for them so that the interest is there before the perceived notion of, oh, work, I gotta read. Also, once your child starts elementary and at around age 8, is when you can start to include any sort of typing practice at home. And there are a couple of really free, easy, available options. Dance mat typing is a really good one. This is just so that your child can practice writing and typing letters, not only to support their general spelling and grammar, but also in preparation for writing out reports and editing documents. So being familiar with a keyboard and having typing practice at home is a great way to support your child's learning. For the later elementary years and into middle school, so for the 9 to 12 age group, your child will start to include reading at school in many more ways. There will be novel studies, there will be book reports, there will be research projects. They will have to start reading through some more academically focused texts and be able to pull out relevant research and relevant information from those texts. Supporting your child's reading at home will be more about making sure that they include reading of their own volition in their routine as well, so that you don't necessarily have to nag or remind every day of reading practice. Also, seeing what kind of genres your child is interested in at this point. Are they interested in fantasy? Do they like historical fiction? Do they like autobiographical kind of books? Are they really into graphic novels or anime style? So figuring out what their preferences are and again catering to that, and taking opportunities for birthdays or holidays, any sort of gift giving opportunity to provide even gift certificates to purchase online or to go and shop for a book, so that the purchasing of a book experience becomes like a special, exciting thing for your child to do. It is also at this time when your child will probably have a lot more screen time than before. Sometimes even kids will have their own phones or own tablets or computers by this age. And so in order to promote reading and improve their sleep too, I recommend having a set time or set amount of time at the end of their day where they read while in bed, or where it's a no screen time but okay book time. So what we do with Asher is when he goes to bed, he has half an hour of in-bed reading time. He chooses which books he'd like to have prior to that, so he's not getting in and out of bed. And he has half an hour before his lights need to be off and before he sleeps. This way, that last chunk of the day is not in front of a screen. It's not doing any sort of stressful homework. It's winding down. It's getting away from that harsher screen light. And also pick up 1 or 2 books yourself so that you might have something to talk about with your child. Remember Harry Potter? Remember Harriet the Spy? The Percy Jackson series? These are all books that are actually quite appealing to adults as well. And so being able to share in talking about a book that you have also read with your child will increase and support that continued reading at home. If by the 9 to 12 age group your child is still very reluctant to read or is not a very confident reader, then communicate with your teacher at school, get some strategy help, get some feasible ways that you can commit to the time to help your child be enthusiastic about reading. At this point, most of those readers that I did mention before will probably not be very interesting for your child. So even just simple spelling practices, going through some spelling words or sight words, or helping to read, say if they have a novel study that they are needing to work through. Overall, supporting reading at home is a very important part of the support that you can give your children as they grow. Reading is a basic skill, and comprehension of reading is a vital skill that your child will be using throughout their entire life. Set up a routine at home, be consistent, make reading pleasure, not work, as much as you can, and be creative in how you practice reading at home too, whether it's through books, audiobooks, songs, songwriting, or other games.
Okay, so I'm just going to show you some activities that I have found success with at home and also working with other students. I do want to reiterate, I'm not an expert in reading. I have been around a lot of experts and seen the strategies that they use. So a lot of them come from these. So the first one is these flashcards where they have colored, it's 3-letter words only, and you can sound out the letters, and the picture on the back is the control, so meaning the child can flip them over and see, does the picture match the words. The next level up of that activity is putting multiple words together, and of course by this point your child may be clever and discover that, oh, I just see the same color cards, and so they can simply just find the same colors and put them together, but they still have to put them in the correct order and make sure that the picture matches. And so here you can see I've made a word, bag, but the control will show that it is the wrong color letter, and so they will ideally look for the correct G to complete the word. And so here is an example of letters that are all the same color, and so they can't use the color to essentially cheat and find the right word. They will have to find the right sounds first and put them together. So, aha, that T does not belong with that cat. There's the control working. All right, this next one I recruited Asher's help for. I'm just going to show you a 3-period lesson on introducing some of the letter sounds.
Yeah. What? Can you point to me which one is y? Which one is t? Which one is and which one is w? What's this? What's this?
Yeah.
What's this? And what's this?
And here I'm showing how to practice the actual reading of a word.
Car. J-o-y, joy. Sit. Which word says joy? Which word says car? Which word says sit? What word is this?
Car.
What word is this?
Joy.
And what does it say?
Sit.
Nice. This last activity is you can mix up the letters and you say the word, and they need to find the letters to spell them. So can you please write the word joy?
And so I'm voicing over at this point because you would be silent as the child completes the word. And Asher is going to help me show here what to do if your child misspells a word.
I see you've spelt the word 3. Where's the vowel going to go?
I didn't know.
Sir.
Perfect.
Here are some flashcards that have phonic sound combinations to them. For this particularly good for an older child who maybe is a bit beyond more of the physical manipulation of things, and they just have some examples of different rules, and so you can practice reading them. You can practice finding these words in another book. They have all sorts of great examples. Moving on now to some actual books. These are 3 that I just have at home that I've collected. The Bob books, as I mentioned before, is my particular favorite. And they structure their novels. They have many boxes. I think they have like over 20 they have different sets. So this is the very, very first one, working on short vowel sounds first. They go through all the sounds. The stories themselves are quite amusing. They're not boring to read. They're very simple, but the illustrations do a very good job of making it interesting. I also found this Pete the Cat phonics series. If you don't know Pete the Cat, it's a very popular set of children's stories, but I did really like how they also followed certain rules. The child does need to be able to read some sight words, and it is a little bit more complex in the Bob books, which really break it down. But again, the interest factor is there, and the stories are hilarious. If you have ever seen any of the Mo Willems readers, this is a selection of 5 of the stories. Again, really simple reads, really entertaining stories, but with quite a few more of those sight words. But once your child has become comfortable with a lot of the sight words, so those are words that you really just need to be able to look at and know, such as the, would, could, night, very common words. They can move on to many readers, and here are just a few that I have. This is a cool Minecraft comic. I have found that graphic novels are massively popular with elementary students who struggle to read. This is a simple chapter book of Minecraft as well. And things like Geronimo Stilton are also very popular with elementary. The Amulet series as well is another popular graphic novel. Really simple classic books. The Giving Tree has manageable sentences in there. And I also have some graphic novels in French for Asher to practice in French and to spark his interest as well. I will just mention to watch out with graphic novels, and it's something I'm not a huge fan of in this example, is when the writing is all in capitals. It is harder for kids who struggle to read or who need practice reading to make out the words, so try to find a mixture if you can.
That is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope I helped you in some way. And in the meantime, stay safe, stay sane, and I'll catch you next time.